Welcome to the Tenant Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson here in Denver, Colorado, joined by my good friend and partner, Wes Brown in Rapid City, South Dakota.
Todd. Oh my God, it's going to be another one. Love it. How you doing, buddy?
I thought for sure you were going to call me your boo.
Hey, boo.
I was talking with Wes the other day on Sunday, and as we were hanging up, he said something like, I'll talk to you later, dude. And he goes, I'll talk to you later, boo. And I'm like, what the hell did he just say? I said, did you just call me boo? And he's like, yeah, I meant to call you dude, but I actually called you boo.
You are my boo.
So I thought for sure you were going to open with calling me boo, but.
Yeah. You are my boo. So, but I'm excited tonight.
Oh,
we're going to have fun.
We're in a weird mood tonight, but it is going to be a treat. This week on the program, we are going to talk about the Coors Western Art Exhibit and Sale and what that looks like this year during the COVID pandemic. And joining us to talk about the exhibit and sale are our friends, Rose Fredrick, who is curator, and Krista Hanley, who's the art coordinator for the show, both of which have previously appeared on our podcast. Rose was kind enough to speak with us back in January during National Western Stock Show while the Coors Western Art Exhibit was in full swing. And Krista joined us for a fantastic conversation back in March, right before everything was shut down for the pandemic. So thank you both for taking time out of your evening to speak with us.
Heck yeah. It's always good to be back. Always.
Better than ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is better than ever. Considering what the year that we've had thus far,
No kidding.
I think people are figuring this all out, right?
You know what? I was just telling somebody that, like, as much as it stinks, like the whole COVID thing, and it really does, but like the Zoom thing, and not because I have a home office. And so people are always like, can you come to a meeting? And driving through Denver traffic has just gotten awful. And so this probably added 2 to 4 hours to my day. Just Zoom in people. And if you count that I don't always have to get out of my pajamas to do it either.
That's always a bonus.
Okay, I'm kidding. I sort of.
How are you doing, Krista?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm it's been a huge adjustment to change a in-person show, an event, and all of the things that we do, the red carpet reception, and to shift that completely online. But same thing, I'm thankful that I can work from home and in my yoga pants.
In your yoga pants. Not pajamas, but yoga pants.
Yes.
We had no idea what was in store for us that weekend that we came to your house and interviewed you.
I know, it's crazy. I can't even believe that like the world changed really quickly after that.
It was like a switch was flipped, right? Didn't it feel like that? Like all of a sudden, boom, like this weird, like, I don't know, just Twilight Zone atmosphere.
And for our listeners, if you haven't listened to Krista, she's episode 19, and it was a lot of fun. We were in her kitchen, or dining room, kitchen, and it was a blast.
Small house.
Full house, yeah.
Small house,
yeah. And full house.
Yes, yeah.
But no, it was a lot of fun, and you should go listen. And you should go listen to Rose's episode as well. So the whole Coors, and that was episode...
It was
11.
episode 1,
11.
wasn't it? Oh,
episode 11.
The first 10 were.
But
That was all practice for you,
in our
Rose.
hearts.
Uh-huh.
What did you say, Todd? What about our hearts?
I'm number one in your
uno
hearts.
in our hearts.
Numero uno. Right?
She wanted to be number one. So
I did. Next time.
next time. Was there a question whether or not the Coors show was even going to happen this year with the National Western Stock Show being canceled?
Well, yeah. I mean, before the show was canceled, this was the tough thing. And I mean, I don't want to complain about it like it was just us, but the whole world is going through this, right? So, but Krista and I, and I may have said this when you interviewed me, but we start working on the next show. Basically, it's pretty much when we're just getting that one uncrated. We're kind of working on the next one. We work pretty far out on these shows. And so, we had a lot of stuff in the works already. And then COVID hit and, nobody knew what was going on. It all kind of fell into the twilight zone. But because there's so many moving parts to this exhibit, we had to get going. Like we send out contracts to artists in Krista, April and May. And
yeah, we sent contracts and it was sort of like, we're going to send the regular contracts with a disclaimer that if you sign the contract, you'll agree to whatever we do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was just so much up in the air. And I think that was the most nerve-wracking thing, and then at some point, I think Krista and I both just said, we're doing a show. Because it's either you have to decide you're doing a show, you're not doing a show. Because there's the artists need to know, they have to get work ready for the show. They've got to figure us into their schedule. And, we just have to get all the pieces in place. We've got a graphic designer, installers, everything. And we've got to get on these schedules months and months out. Right. So we just kind of made a decision. We're going forward. And then we kept moving forward. And then hearing more and more things like, well, the city's pretty much shut down now, but by the fall, there should be a vaccine, there's not a vaccine. And so, we just kept kind of rolling with it and kept in communication with the artists. And then when Paul Andrews came out, he actually got on a call with us, with me and Krista, before he made the announcement, just so we would be able to start getting our ducks in a row. But he told us that there was not going to be a National Western, that they were just going to go dark, because they had to make a decision, because the same as us, they've got all kinds of people with stock and cattle and farm animal, and just everybody. There's so many moving parts. So he let us know that, and then we, Kristen and I and our advisory committee, we really sat down and we put Plan A, Plan B, Plan C together. And this is the plan that we ended up having to go with, is totally off-site. Artists just send us their images. And of course, the perfect storm, we also decided we had to redo our website, and we moved to a new gallery website sales software. So here's Krista. This was already planned, and she's learning all this new stuff and having to move our website over, and we're having to communicate with the new website people. This has just been kind of the perfect storm, I think, of just everything hitting at once, but everybody's going through it. So kind of in a way, I think people are really forgiving, and they're really saying, yeah, let's just support you. Tell us what you need us to do. So in that way, it's been really good.
I think that's what's been cool about this time, is that you actually get kind of a free pass, and to learn something completely new, and everybody's trying to figure it out. So nobody's real hypercritical about how it plays out. And you guys have been doing a great job. So let me step back for just a second. So you, as this was transpiring, the beginning of the pandemic, you were just moving forward as you normally would. And then when the announcement was made, you put an A, B, C plan together, and then, looking at the different scenarios of how you would do it. And then you chose one of those. Is that what I am gathering from what you just said?
I don't know that we had the scenarios, like it was in-person show, hybrid show, online and in-person, and then totally online. So those are our three scenarios. And we basically based that on where's the world going to be, when our show actually happens. And we had a lot of discussions around it. We have some advisory committee members that are in the medical field. And so we really started narrowing it down to the hybrid versus totally online first. That was the first sort of narrowed down that we did. And then as things sort of progressed, we decided that we had to go fully online. And it's, again, like Rose said, like a lot of things sort of happened, things with construction on I-70. So access to our complex has been complicated at this time. And that was sort of also one of the deciding factors, is like to do a hybrid show with tickets where people would have time tickets. Well, how do they even get access to the area if it's all under construction? And will we frustrate people? And so that was a factor. So we really kept narrowing it down as the world kept shifting. So it was like we were constantly having to like plan for whatever.
I think that makes a lot of, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's nerve-wracking. And I think I'm really grateful that Krista was there to, because I think it's really nice that we can bounce all this off each other. And I really want to make sure that I'm not suggesting something that is just going to keep her working 24 hours a day around, just around the clock to just do all this crazy stuff. And as it is, it already, because it's like I know what it takes to sell art, and selling art online is really, if you think about it, really, really new. And we've never done it for the Coors show. So, a lot of people are forced into it, but there are a lot of moving parts. And so I'm grateful that we could just bounce stuff off each other, and at the same time, a lot of our artists were in these other shows, right? And so I would call them, or they would check in with me, and I would say, well, how did it go? And what did they do? And how did that work? And did it work or didn't it? What did you like? And so we ended up, that's something that Kristen and I did pretty early on, is we sent an email to all the artists and just said, please tell us what is working and what isn't working. And we got such amazing responses from people. And that helped steer us in the right direction. So, I feel like having the show in January, with all that input from really major shows that got caught in the middle and the early stages of COVID, some of the things that they tried. And so we're able to do the stuff that worked and skip over the stuff that didn't work.
I don't want you to give us the whole history of this Coors show, but this is the 28th year of this show.
That sounds right. Sounds about right. Is that right, Krista? 28th or 29th?
28th, I think.
28.
28.
Yeah. I don't know if it counts.
I want you to
stock show. Does it?
I think it is. I think it does. Right. The show must go on, and it's pretty cool that you guys have figured out how to pivot, just like everybody else. And I keep saying this on almost every podcast. I think artists and people of our ilk, of our collective, we're more adept at this scenario than other people, because artists always need to figure out how to pivot with the times and troubleshoot. And I think that, if there's anybody made for a pandemic, it's us folks, right? We figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's right. And you know what? I also think that artists are really good at stepping up and helping each other out. I haven't had a single artist say, that's not going to work for me. I'm just going to back out. Every artist has, jumped in and to whatever comfort level, and said, yeah, let's keep going. Let's make this work. So that's been really good.
I think that's a testament also to you guys and to the show itself, that the fact that they're willing to do whatever it takes to keep this show going, because, you guys put on a phenomenal show. We were there last year walking through, and it was amazing. And the artists that you guys select are top notch, and it's just a beautiful show. So I think it's a testament to you as well.
Well, there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes. I think we talked about some of that, and it's interesting because I don't know other major national shows, but Krista and I are the only paid people working on the show. And then we have an advisory committee that is amazing, that helps us out with a lot of stuff and really guides us. But how many people do you have on your, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but how many people do you have on your advisory committee? I think it's 11 right now. It fluctuates a little bit, but yeah, there's 11. And we actually ask a lot of them because we have table sales in normal years, and we ask them to bring collectors and introduce collectors to the show. And, our committee will help figure out the layout and decorations, for opening night and things like that I'm honestly really just no good at. And nor do Krista and I have the time for that, so to have them come in and figure out the menu for the night and stuff like that. So they're really amazing. And like Krista was saying, we have medical people, and so Dr. Kick, for example, has been really keeping us online and informed about COVID and how things are going. And so that, to me, that I think was super helpful to be able to go back to, Krista and I, and to go over and say, what, I think what Steve Kick is telling us is right. I don't think we're going to have an in-person show. And that was back when people were saying, oh yeah, no, we'll be able to do this in January. And Steve was like, no way. And so that's when Krista and I really activated and said, we've got to get some backup plans in place. I think Steve, a doctor out at Anschutz Medical is really more on the pulse of this than anybody else. And so, yeah, we've got a great, really active, wonderful committee that brings a lot of good advice and diversity to what we're trying to do. So that's good.
So do you have the same amount of artists as you normally would this year in a normal time?
No. Well, we have 75 artists, and I think it's usually a little closer to 80 artists. I don't know. This is another thing because since we've never been an online exhibit before, and not had work in person, there were like two sides of the coin, right? So it's the internet. So everyone can put 100 pieces each, right? It's free. Just put them all up online. It doesn't matter. And then there's that thing about when you're online and you're looking at art or a big site with a lot of art, you get a little weary and you just kind of get overloaded and you say, well, I'll come back to that tomorrow. And you don't. So if there's too much art, then I think you can kill it the other way too. So we tried to strike a balance and did a lot of talking with the artists to just feel them out and see how comfortable they were, and also like what was working for them with their galleries and shows that way too. So I think it's about 350 pieces of art, and a lot of times, Krista, we're closer to 425 or pieces of art.
Yeah, 450.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we've had more artists, we have 71 artists this year. FYI.
Oh.
Okay. Now is that including the Young Guns artists as well?
We did something different this year. In the past, for Young Guns, which is our group for 40 and under collectors and patrons, trying to bring them up and introduce them to collecting art. In the past 2 years, I've curated a special show for that group. And then even, for the last 7 years, I think we've also had Rose curating work for them. And that work that Rose curates, we call the National Western Club. So it's been the club art and then the Coors show and then the Young Guns, for one night only. So it's very confusing. And so for this year, because we sort of decided so late in the year about how our show would work, I didn't curate any work for the Young Guns because I was like, I don't know if we're going to have a show. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if we're going to be allowed to have Young Guns. Maybe we can go ahead with Coors, but maybe not Young Guns. So what we did this year is we asked our artists, Rose asked a lot of the artists in the club and the Coors show to create work especially for Young Guns. And so it's maybe different work. A lot of it is priced at lower prices. Again, it might be an etching or a drawing or something that might be naturally lower priced. And so the artist created work for them. And that's actually up right now, the Young Guns show. So if people are 40 and under, you can go and start bidding, and bidding closes on this Thursday on the 10th. And it's really exciting. We have quite a few things being bid on right now and a lot of people looking at art and stuff. So it's a special show just for them.
And how's that going so far? Because that finishes up this week on Thursday. Are sales good for the Young Gun show?
Yeah, sales. I mean, they're coming through. So we'll see. I know there's always a big push, but there are. I looked today. There's 21 things already that have bids. So we know we've sold 21 pieces, and out of 43, maybe. So I think that's amazing so far. And then, like with most auctions, hopefully that'll all really pick up as we get closer to Thursday and see more sales come through. But I'm really excited so far that there's been something, because we don't know. We've never done any of this before. We've never sold through auction software. We've never had everything 100% online. So we have no idea what the response would be.
So on the bidding part, do you have a reserve that the art must sell at? And also, where do you start bidding at as far as dollar wise?
So we have basically the starting price is the price determined by the artist. And we're working at like our silent auction that we always have had as part of our show. So the red carpet exhibition has always had a silent auction of miniatures or small pieces. And that has been where the artist sets the price. And it's typically their retail price. And then people bid up. And because they want that piece is only in this show. So they're going to bid it up. And so that's how we're running this sale. Only everything is starting off at the price the artist set. Now, a lot of the artists, like I said, some of them have lowered the prices for the Young Guns to encourage bidding, but others, have kept it the same. And that's really important to us, that artists, their commission is based on that starting price. And then anything bid above that is a donation directly to our scholarship trust, which is what we support in our show. So people are making donations by bidding up the art.
And we should talk about that just a little bit. When we talked to you, Rose, back in January, you said that, it's not artists donating their art to the show.
Right.
That this is actually, they're getting what they normally would in any other gallery. Right. Actually, they're probably getting a better deal, because I think you told me at the time, or you told us at the time, that, it's a 70-30 thing. So 70% of the sale is the artist. The other 30% goes towards the scholarship.
So yeah, I'm glad you asked me about that, because a lot of shows they kind of do this wrong, where they ask for donations, or they ask the artist to discount things, and they just don't take into account that these are professional people. This is what they do for a living. And honestly, I always tell artists, my advice to them is, if you want to donate to a cause, volunteer your time, but don't give away your art that way. That it's really important, because when the art sells for less than the retail price set by the artist, it devalues that art on the market. So it's really important, and especially in an auction setting, because if you know anything about appraising art, auction records are often what is used to establish the value for the art. And the auctions are rough, and it's part of the reason why I don't ever want to do a live auction with the Coors show is, first of all, it's incredibly nerve-wracking and upsetting for the artist to wait that out. And if their work is bought in, if it's passed on, that's upsetting for them, but it also hurts the market. It's like they need the auction side of it, but the auction side is pretty cruel to living artists. So it's kind of a tough thing. So with the Coors show, we don't ask for donations. Some artists do donate a small piece to the silent auction in the past, but the only thing that we do keep as a donation is what our patrons bid over and above the set price the artist gives us. So, yeah. So it's really about maintaining the artist's value in the market. And I always explain that to collectors as well. You want the artist to keep their prices strong. You want to see those prices going up 10% every other year, generally. Now, I think COVID is, I've been suggesting to artists that they do not raise prices now and just sort of wait this out and see what's going to happen in the next couple of years. But, just kind of hang tight right now. But yeah, with the Coors show, honestly, the artists are really paramount in my mind, and protecting them and protecting their sales and really making sure that we're presenting them in the best light and making them look really good and making sales for them, keeping their market strong, introducing them to new patrons, all that kind of stuff. So this year's going to be interesting.
I think it's important that we get this kind of word out, because I come from the nonprofit sector as well. And, nobody ever said, it's especially up here, it's expected that the artist will donate, give the artwork to raise money for whatever nonprofit. And it wasn't until I started doing these interviews with different artists that I realized that you got to protect the artist. And I think it's so important that we get the word out to nonprofits, because I think they just, they're not being malicious. They're just, this is how it's done. This is how it's always been. And it's time that we start to recognize the importance of the artist and maintaining their way of life.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people who are organizing these shows, and I know they have the best interest at heart, especially for the nonprofit or for their cause. But, a lot of times they're lawyers or investment, bankers or, people like that. And I always say, do you donate your time? Can an artist come to you and you'll donate, helping them with their divorce? We donate that? And the answer is no, that's crazy. It's like, well, let's just kind of compare apples to apples here, because you're asking them to donate a mortgage payment and maybe a car payment. So,
yeah.
And people don't realize that artists can't write off the value of the piece.
Yep.
So they can only write off I think the cost of the materials. So it's really, not helping the artist at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it gives the artist exposure.
Yeah. Oh, that's always it.
I love that one. And then I don't remember who said it, but they were saying, well, people die from exposure. So
right.
I love that. So that was a good statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, keep informing people of that, Wes, because it's, I think artists are also, they get in a spot where they don't want to say no, or they feel bad saying no. And it really has been the case that everybody just assumes, well, how long did it take you? It just took you a day to do that. I mean, it took you a few hours. Like, you can donate that. It's like, no, it's my livelihood.
Right.
You're just cranking them out and you have them just laying around, all these paintings. You can just give us one.
Right. Yeah. People say that all the time. It's really, It's unfortunate. I wish there was, that's what I love about your podcast. And I was so glad to kind of make an announcement of it a couple times when we were doing our Zoom artist interviews for the Coors show this year, because you guys are really talking to artists and helping inform the public about this lifestyle and what goes into it, and that it didn't take you just a couple hours and you can donate this. I mean, this is an entire life career, of studying and working and continually trying to get better at what you're doing. And it is tough. It's not like you're punching a clock or making a salary, Yeah. Every sale counts.
And we do really appreciate the fact that you gave us a shout out. I appreciate that.
Of course.
That was totally kind to you. I was surprised. I was like, wow, that was really nice. Made me happy. For our listeners who are listening along to this conversation, the website is CoorsWesternArt.com. Check it out if you want to see some phenomenal art as we continue this conversation. This is a pretty prestigious art show. People don't realize it because it's held at during the National Western Stock Show, but it's a contemporary Western art show. Tell our listeners, you don't need to rehash it because they can go back and listen to your episode 11, but tell our listeners what that means, a contemporary Western art exhibit.
Yeah, well, my concept of Western art is really broad. For so many years, so this is my 25th show, I came into it really seeing this need for a venue that was showing contemporary living artists who are responding to the West today. Not who, there's some really amazing artists who are painting this historical kind of work that they research all the bridles and the blankets and all this kind of stuff. And we don't have that work in the show because that doesn't exist today. And in fact, when Remington came west to paint that stuff, it was gone then. I think that's really important for people to know. And again, I don't want to be disparaging because it's phenomenal work, but there needs to be a place for artists who are living and responding to the West and to the United States and to political things and social issues and environmental issues, and not that it's an issue show or you're going to get hit over the head with something, but there is this thought process that goes into it that is vital for today. And I think that's a really important thing because the artists who are realists and who are responding to the West, they really don't have any place to show because there are major shows and art fairs that are very, very contemporary, very like off the wall with work and conceptual work and things like that. Well, they don't really fit there. And then they don't really fit in the shows that have the traditional Western either. And so for me, I saw that this was a great niche that wasn't being filled. And so that's been the idea of the show. Well, my concept when I'm looking for art is to just say, how many unique voices can I find to put into this show? And ultimately, what I want people to get out of seeing the show is this sense that there's so much great art being made today. But I also want them to walk out of the show and see the world in a different way. Like I want them to see more color, see more possibilities, see different ways of looking at things, maybe see a gesture in a different way, because an artist created a sculpture or painting or made a photograph that is this little glimpse of something that they wouldn't have seen otherwise. And I think you get that, when you have contemporary living artists responding to the world today. And I think that's really vital. That's what's going to live beyond us. Are those works of art that these artists are doing. So that's what excites me about the show.
And then if one of you, Krista already touched on it, but if one of you would talk about who benefits from the proceeds from the show.
The show benefits the National Western Scholarship Trust, which is a trust that is part of the National Western Stock Show. And they give about 100 scholarships a year to students who are going to school for undergrad or master's degrees in a variety of areas. Those areas are medicine, and there's a rural medicine requirement that they have to then go and practice in a rural area. If they get the scholarship, they have to prove that they're practicing in that rural area after they graduate. Veterinary sciences, animal sciences, and then agriculture. So the scholarships are really supporting the West of today, just like the show is. We're supporting the artists and our future, people in agriculture, animal sciences, and medicine.
I think that's really spectacular that there's all these scholarships and there's these kids that are going to benefit from all this. So get out and support the Coors show this year and bid on some art. Did you actually make a whole new website in order to make this happen this year, or how did that work?
Yeah, well, we had a sort of confluence of things happen where we were planning on creating a new website this year. We were planning on getting a new software system so we could do more integrated art sales, like an actual gallery system, which feeds into the website. And that just happened this year as well. So much of my time in COVID has been learning this new software and then populating our whole new website. And pretty early on, we realized if we're going to have an online show, probably should have some sort of different software to support an auction platform. So we also are contracted with HandBid, which is a specialized auction only software. So we are doing our first part of our sale for the Coors show is through HandBid. So the show will open with all 350 some pieces on December 18th. People can start bidding on HandBid. That closes on January 5th, which would have been our red carpet reception night. And we're going to have a streamed video event that night as the closing as well at 6:00 p.m. And then the bidding will stop at 8:00 p.m. that night. And then anything that doesn't sell, now we're hoping everyone gets on HandBid and just buys right now. But if there's anything left that doesn't sell, that will be on our website from a couple days after January 5th through the end of what would have been stock show, which is January 24th. So we'll still be, pushing for things to sell. There'll still be stuff available.
Now,
so what's really cool that we did this year?
What's that?
So we couldn't have a featured art. Well, we did. We had picked a featured artist. It was going to be David Griffin. And then we just decided that would really stink because the featured artist gets this royal treatment. They can have as many pieces of art. They're right in front when you walk in. And it's just cool. There's just a lot of stuff that goes with it. And so we decided, since he wasn't going to get that we were going to not have a featured art. We'll just skip that this year. But then Krista came up with this brilliant idea. She's like, everybody asks every year, so many people, if they can get the Willie Matthews, which is the first piece of art we collected. And it's the first poster we ever did. And so we are doing a commemorative reprint of it. It's the art. It's going to be slightly larger than the original poster. And our graphic designer, Terry Rigg, he came up with this really cool, made it a little more modern, our logo and all that kind of stuff with it. And so we're going to do this print on demand. It's going to be on a watercolor paper. It's going to be a really nice paper. Basically, we're going to open that up so you can start buying it pre-sale through January 24th. And we're going to end it there. And as many prints that we sell, that's how many we're going to buy. We're going to print, and then it's done, and we'll never do it again. So I'm kind of excited about it.
That is really exciting.
What's it going for? I'm sorry, Todd.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's so it'll be $180. And then if you want it signed and personalized by Willie, it'll be an extra $50, so $230. And Willie he just said he's donating all of it to the Scholarship Trust. So, I mean, these print on demand is pricey. That's why it's more expensive than our usual poster, but we're also putting it on this beautiful watercolor paper, and it's going to be a commemorative piece. So yeah, I'm excited about it, and I hope word gets out, because truly that is one of our posters that people ask for without fail every year. And they've been gone for well over a decade. They've been gone for maybe 20 years now. So wow. Yeah, kind of fun.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
I know there's the red carpet event, but Krista, is there an event for the Young Guns as well that you're going to do?
Yeah, so Young Guns, like I said before, it closes this Thursday, which is December 10th. And they also will have a little closing event at 6:00, a pre-recorded thank you video. But they added some fun things, like they have a bartender mixing drinks, so you could mix your drinks along with the bartender while you're bidding on your art. So they have some fun stuff planned. And again, that's 6:00 on Thursday. It'll be through the Handbid platform. And then their sale closes at 9:00, because we know that younger people might be staying up later.
That's awesome. And it's the same thing with the red carpet event as well. You'll have a pre-recorded thing. That's a pre-recorded thing. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, we made it easier on ourselves than trying to do something live. And we have some great collage videos planned for that red carpet one, where we asked a lot of people to send some statements in, and we're going to collage it together as a video, which is going to be really cool. It's going to include some volunteers and some artists, and maybe even me.
And we're going to announce awards that night. Right. And we've got some cool awards. And I got Louis Sharp, the former director of the Denver Art Museum, to pick Best of Show. So he's going to announce that from his ranch in California.
Right on. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'll have to sign up for that.
Have to tune in.
Yeah. So there's no featured artist this year, you just said, but every year a piece is acquired for the collection. Is that still happening this year or no?
Nope, we're not allowed to spend any money. We were told to be conservative.
Be frugal.
Be frugal. We're being frugal. We're always frugal, I have to say. But this year, unfortunately, and you know what really is a bummer is that I was looking at David Griffin's pieces early on, and I was like, oh, that's the one I want. That's the one I want. There's this one. I mean, they all are really great, but there's one in particular that I'm like, that was the one. Damn it.
You do have a lot.
So someone should buy it and donate it to us.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
So that we still do get the piece we want.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That would be really awesome.
But the stock show this year has gone through such an upheaval. You can imagine that it's an event venue during the rest of the year, and pretty much all the events that they do throughout the summer, which oftentimes there's 2 or 3 events going on in a single day often, to have that completely shut down has greatly impacted the stock show. And so we're doing everything we can to support them as well. That's also why we wanted to go ahead with doing the show, is that we want to we want people to still think about the stock show, even if there's no place to go and look at all the livestock in the yards, that there's still like, they can come to the Coors show on our website and they can browse and they can look at the art and they can think about that the stock show is still, it's still vibrant. It's still going on. We're still supporting those scholarships.
Are you both pretty hopeful as far as sales for this year?
I'm always hopeful. Although before every show, I always have some kind of nightmare. And they're just like crazy. So I can't wait to see what my nightmare this year is going to be. But like one year I had this nightmare that I showed up and I was all dressed and it was the opening night, and the coordinator before Krista was there. Her name is Annie. She walks up to me and she says, yeah, so there was a typo on the invitation and the opening night is like set for tomorrow on the invite. So nobody's here. It's like, those are the kind of like panic dreams I have every year. So I just can only imagine what the panic is going to be on this one. So I'm hopeful though.
So what's the craziest thing you've ever seen in your 25 years of doing this, or whatever it's been?
The Coors show?
Yeah. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen?
God.
That you can talk about?
Yeah, right.
I'm sure there might be something you can't talk about, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but
have you ever always that.
Have you ever seen anything that kind of like, whoa?
Now, you know what I think is always so amazing to me about the show is that our volunteers have a little sweeper kind of this like a vacuum sort of thing.
Carpet sweeper, that they have at restaurants that doesn't, plug it in, but
yeah. And they have that going like all the time at the front entrance to sweep up manure and hay and straw that comes into
and muck.
And yeah. I mean, that is so the Coors show, like right there. Like everyone comes in to see the show and they were down in the horse barn, or they were down showing their goats or whatever they were doing. And they come in to see the show. And it's kind of one of those things that it's like, as an art curator, it's this weirdest venue ever. It's essentially having an art exhibit in a barn. Like I remember this one guy who has a major auction in Santa Fe, an auction house. And he walked in and we were chatting, and at the end of the night he was leaving and he said goodbye, and he's like, this place, it stinks. Like, can you do this show anywhere else? You need a better venue. I was like, no, I'm sorry. This is where it is. It's in a barn, basically. I mean, I think that's the thing about the show. And it's sort of one of those things that there's nothing pretentious about the Coors show. And I think that's why people love it. It's like you just come and you get your boots on, and and the artists are relaxed and everybody just has a good time, and we get, some years we've had 40,000 people walking through that show after opening night. It's generally somewhere between 30, 35, 36,000 people. And honestly, most museums.
And let me just interrupt you. That's in 16 days.
Right.
35 to 40,000 people in 16 days see our show.
I bet you that other curator wished he had 36,000 people walking through his show.
Right? Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing, because most museums, like mid-level museums and down, they don't get that in a whole year. Right. And these are people who they just love it. They just don't miss it. And it's really, I don't know. I always just get such a good feeling in it. I mean, it's a ton of work. And I mean, Krista and I both get sick. Like we're just, both of us. I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you wash your hands, and it's just stressful, and you're there all the time and you're around all these people. But I love it. I love it. So I don't know. Is anything really crazy? I mean, I think sweeping up manure from the entrance of your exhibit.
It's great. My favorite day when we're setting up the show, we do this crazy thing where we hang the show for the red carpet reception, and we take up this whole exhibit hall. And then we have the red carpet reception on a Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we basically take that entire show down and we rehang it inside the gallery and inside the club. Well, my favorite day, it's usually, I think, Thursday, is the day that the petting zoo animals that are like basically right next door to the gallery, the day that they bring them up the freight elevator that we also bring the art up in. And then they basically release all these little fat goats and pigs and they just run bleeding through the hall as we're like hanging art. And that's like, I'm actually going to miss that day this year.
Yeah. You know what? I think it was last year or 2 years ago, a goat had babies.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
there's baby goat. Yeah. Yes. During stock show, a goat had babies. So we had, everyone's like goes and sees the baby goats and then they come into the gallery. It's like no place on earth, right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I still have pictures of my kids. Some of my favorite pictures of my boys when they were little guys is taking them to the petting zoo. And I remember Frank found an egg and he's like, Mom, I got, an egg. And they're just hugging the animals and stuff. It's kind of I can hardly get my kids to go to art things, but they do go to that because it's just, you get to sit on tractors and see pet horses and, and buy corn dogs. And it's just, you just like you wouldn't, it's not what you expect when you go to an art exhibit at all. Just kind of cool, I think.
It is cool. And you're going to see when you get to see it in person, but you can go online now. You will see like these world-renowned artists and this phenomenal art. And in that setting, it really is spectacular because it is mind-blowing because the art is so phenomenal. It's mind-blowing because you're in this setting that you're like, you'd never imagine putting those two together, right?
Right.
It's fantastic. Yeah. You have returning artists every year, and then you bring in a handful of new artists. What does that percentage look like? Like how many typically are like returning artists, and then what percentage are new artists, would you say?
It's usually on a normal year, I try to bring in 10 to 15 out of, if it's like 80, 75 artists. And some years, if there's a year where I bring in like 18 new artists or something, then the next year I might only bring in 7, but it's not a big percentage. But kind of what happens is sometimes artists will call me and they'll say, hey, I'm working on a book and I have to just dedicate this year to doing that. I think a couple of years ago, Barbara Van Cleve they did an episode of Sunday Morning it used to be Charles Kuralt, but
CBS Sunday Morning.
Yeah. So she was doing that and she's like, I can't get everything together for them and do the Coors show. So stuff like that happens. Sometimes I invite an artist to the show, and I always think when I invite an artist to the show that we can sell their work, that they're going to be a hit. And it just isn't always the case. And so when that happens, then, the artist and I'll just talk, and it's like, I guess we just don't have a market, which, and it's not good for them to just have their work sitting there and people walk by and not appreciating it. So that's kind of how, those decisions are made. It's sometimes if the artist just doesn't have the time, but a lot of times it's just it just wasn't the hit with the audience that I thought. So,
and that's why it's such a tough show to get into, because there's only so many spots, right? So
right.
How many applicants did you say you had? You like 450 or something, or what was the number?
Some years. Yeah, some years. And then it just depends on the year. But yeah, we get a lot of applicants to the show. And I try to take people from those applicants, but then I'm also actively out there looking at artists. And there are some artists that I've been trying to get in the show for years. I try and keep a really good mix. I want art in there that people who are new to collecting, or maybe just love to collect, but they don't have a big budget that they can afford. So you'll find artwork in the show for $250, like hand pulled print work from some of our amazing printmakers. And then like this year, I think Dan Sprick's painting is $135,000 or something like that. So just try and keep a big range of work in there for people to start collecting. So
now, Krista, talk to us about the Young Guns thing in a typical year. How is that put together?
In a typical year, the Young Guns lately have had an amazing event we call the Young Guns Reception, sort of mid-December around this time. So again, December 10th would have been their night when they would have had their event. And it's become this multimedia event that it's not just art anymore. They have live music. They have silent auction items that they find, donated that are actually donated. So like, a trip to a ranch or a special fisherman's bag and kit, or, portrait session, something like that. And then we of course give away stock show centric things like rodeo tickets and mutton busting slots for your kids, stuff like that, which are really popular. So they have that. And then we've had the Young Guns art that I've curated, as well as the whole Coors show is set up for them. So we're actually hanging the Coors show in December so that we can have this big Young Guns reception, which has just grown and grown. The first Young Guns reception, I think, was 7 or 8 years ago, and they had like 50 people. And last year we had over 450 people at their event. So it is something that is just keep growing and everything. And I think it's really exciting, not just for the Coors show to be bringing in these new art collectors, but also for the National Western, that it's introducing maybe a lot of new people that are just coming to Denver, and they're looking for some philanthropy, they're looking for something to be involved with, and they find some alignment with this great younger group, and so we're bringing them also into the National Western. So, yeah.
Krista, you should also talk about how you find those artists, because they're also young artists, and she does a phenomenal job of finding them.
Yeah. So my goal is really to give also for this to be a venue for young artists, artists that don't have representation, artists that are local. And it's sort of, my age group is like maybe 45 and under, so that it is a peer-to-peer conversation between the folks that are coming to that Young Guns reception and the artists, and to give these artists a boost. And the work therefore is a little bit more affordable, because these are emerging artists, truly emerging artists. And I'm always with a thought toward diversity of artists. So so far I've had, just 6 artists in the show, but I try to keep it equal between male and female artists. And I try to always have artists of color in the show, again, because I want to expand the resources for artists to get into this venue that is actually pretty cool to have, the 450 young collectors there as an audience.
So let me ask you this question, and thank you for asking that question, Rose. That's actually where I was hoping to go with that, and I don't think I asked that question very well, but we got more information about the Young Gun Show, and you asked an excellent question.
I'm here for you, Todd.
Thank you, Rose. I'm gonna log off now. I'll let you take it over.
We'll just take over.
I want you to speak, Krista, on if there's been anybody yet, because this is a pretty new thing, this Young Guns thing, but has there anybody that has that started out in the Young Gun Show and has graduated into the Coors Show?
Yes, excitingly, this year we've got Jared Brady, who was an artist last year that I found through I think it was a Southwest Art magazine of they do like young artist article. And I was like, oh, he's in Colorado.
It's like 21 under.
Yeah,
20,
I think it was 21 under 21. And he was like, oh, he's in Colorado. I'll look him up. Oh, he's doing Western centric. So I reached out to him. He was in the Young Gun Show last year and sold every single piece. And then he applied through our application process this year. And Rose has put him into the sort of in the club show, which this year really is, we've just merged the two shows. So there you go. It's really exciting for him, I think. And
That's
he's
awesome.
one of the sweetest guys.
He's 21 years old.
Holy cow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's really sweet. And we did his Zoom talk and he was really well spoken, and people just loved him. I think he's going to be a really terrific. He's a great up and coming guy to keep an eye on for sure. So yeah, Krista found him. Good
There's
stuff.
one more thing I want to plug if I can.
Yeah.
So I also started an artist in residence program at the stock show a couple of years ago. And we talked about that in detail in my talk. And our first artist, Eileen Richardson, she's a filmmaker, and she did 8mm film video of the yards. And she filmed and filmed and filmed the whole time during stock show. From like before the stock show started, she got shots of the animals coming in, and then to when it ended, and it was just, the mud piles and everything. And it took her a little while to, she hand processed all of that film, and then she edited it together, and she's created a 20-some minute movie that is called In the Yards. And she just finished it this summer, and I'm so excited about it. And then it was like, oh, there's COVID. We can't, we were thinking at first we'd have a showing or something. But this year, what we're going to do is we're going to have an online viewing of the film in January, and we'll find a great time, and we'll have her and I on talking, and then we'll show this great film that she made. But oh my gosh, it is so beautifully nostalgic about the stock show that I think it's something that people will really that have that nostalgia for the stock show. This is the time to show that, because it is like those yard shots of the animals and the people and the sounds and everything that she captured.
Yeah, you'll have to keep us posted on.
I will.
When that happens.
There's one thing I want to make a comment on, if I can, Todd. The cool thing about the Coors Art Show, too, because it's contemporary Western artists, is of all the people that come through, many of them, probably the vast majority, would never expose themselves to that kind of artwork. And just to have people, coming from the ranch and walking in and seeing Ron Hicks stuff and gravitating to that, or, Terry Gardner stuff, or, Lisa Gordon stuff, that's an amazing thing to do anyway, to expose a vast number of people to art that they would never, ever look at.
Exactly. And there was an interesting thing that happened last year with Willie Matthews' work that, I don't know if you remember it, but he had a fire line, a cowboy setting a fire line. The work was just really different. And it was really, when we went and looked through the work and kind of put this selection together, it was really the working cowboy, the contemporary, modern day working cowboy, and what that's like. And it's not romantic, right? I mean, it's hard. But of course, the way Willie does it, it's gorgeous. His paintings are just phenomenal. Every painting sold I think it was best of show choice, and but the coolest thing was that people came in, people who lived that lifestyle and had just incredible comments to things like, I'm just so surprised you would put a painting like that in the show. Like that's a painting that would be in a show, because it's very real. So stuff like that we're able to do. I think our artists are truly authentic, which is just what I love. Like they're really painting a true life, and they're painting people they know. Willie's painting his friends. Barbara Van Cleve is taking photographs of the people working her ranch, her cattle, her horses out there working. And, you get that, but you get it in this incredible, dynamic, beautiful package, with baby goats right outside the door.
So, Rose, let's talk about this fantastic series of talks that you've been doing to help facilitate interest in the artist and the art. And this is it's kind of nice because people want that connection with the artist. And because you're not doing anything in person this year, they don't have the opportunity to come to hear an artist talk or to hear some of your wonderful stories on one of your tours like I took last year. Tell us about what you've been doing.
So Heather Miller, one of our advisory committee members, she brought it up. She said, you should do these Zoom talks inside an artist studio because everybody's used to doing Zoom now. And Krista and I put our heads together and we kind of divided out the list and said, well, if we do 3 artists, do an hour. And we decided to do so they started in November. And they're Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So Tuesday, Thursdays are at noon. And then Wednesdays are at 6 p.m. And they go an hour, sometimes a few minutes over. And I just interview the 3 artists. And then at the very end, I just open it up and say, hey, do you have questions or comments for each other? They have been so much fun. Like you said it, Todd, I tell these stories and a lot of my job is really talking to the artists throughout the year and catching up with them and finding out what they're working on and why it's important. And because then when the work comes into the show and I'm giving people tours of the exhibit, I can talk to them about stuff. Well, we can't do that this year. So what a fantastic idea my committee member had to do inside the artist studio. And so the artists are sitting there in their studio, so people get a peek into that world and how they work, and they get to ask questions through the chat that I pose to the artists. They get to hear the artists talk, and I generally try to draw the artists out and prompt them and ask them questions about the work. And it's a lot of times it's the questions that people always ask, like they just really want to know if I could ever ask that artist something, and they've been really well attended. I think the one we did, Dan Sprick, Kwang Ho, and Foster Grissom was 90 some people, and those are generally couples, watching together. So there was a lot of people on that call, and then we record all of them. And we have a great guy who is going back in, and he's just kind of doing a little bit of editing and adding in the artwork images, because everybody's camera is different, so you don't get a clear picture. So this guy's doing a really nice job of adding in images too. So that's been great. And honestly, people keep saying you have to keep doing this. So I'm going to keep this going after we get through all our artists for sure. And just keep interviewing artists and doing this sort of inside the artist studio concept and expand on it. But you can find that on the CoorsWesternArt.com website, and just even on the very front page, just click on it. It'll take you to a link. You can register. And then every call that we've already done, they're recorded. So you can go back and listen to them and hear what the artists have to say about their work this year and what they're up to. And it's interesting because a lot of artists are really responding to COVID. And I think when you listen to them talk, like you wouldn't look at something and go, oh, that's a response to COVID. But when the artist talks about it, it's like, oh, I see that. I see how you're feeling about this isolation or quarantine or, what people are going through or loss that you've had or something like that. So it's been really great, even for me. Like, and I'm in touch with artists all the time, but just to get them to listen and respond to each other has been incredible. It's been a lot of fun.
I'm sure, it's a convenience in this day and age with the whole Zoom thing, but it's nice because some of these artists, they don't live here. They live across the nation somewhere, and they might not ordinarily have the opportunity to come to the stock show and talk about, the Coors show or their art. It's nice for them to have a moment and to connect with other people, And like you said, the other night you had almost 100 people on, 90 people or whatever. And then a lot of those were couples. That's a lot of people that they're getting the opportunity to make a connection with that artist and be exposed to something they haven't been exposed to before. So it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it's great.
And the reality of it is that this is one of the things that has come out of this pandemic, right? We've all learned how to pivot, and we've figured out how to use some kind of different platform to communicate since we're not in person. And this is something that you can continue to do year after year. Like, even if you're in person next year, you should still be doing these because you get to talk to people that, like I said, aren't here, or you get to expose more people to the artist than you ever would before because, they might not be able to make it on the day that artist talks. So
that's exactly right. We had someone listening from France on one of the calls. So they're really getting out there, and one of our artists, Ulrich Leiter, he is going to call in from Germany. So, it's got a really nice reach. And honestly, like I try to get to artist studios throughout the year, but definitely didn't do any of that this year. And there are artists like, I haven't been to our artist studios in Canada. I had never been to Laura Wilson's studio in Dallas, and Laura hadn't been to the show. So we got her on a call, and I know people wanted to hear her talk about her work. She's a photographer who was Richard Avedon's assistant for like 5-6 years. Richard Avedon, the famous
fashion photographer.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
New Yorker. Yeah. She was his assistant. So, it was just great to talk to her and the other cool thing that happens is sometimes the artists put their group together, but other times it's just a mishmash, whoever signed up that date happened to work for them. And so to listen to these artists and to hear these connections between them, and they're inspiring each other with stuff and they're loving it too. And so many of them kind of called or emailed me early on when we decided to do this. And they're like, okay, I'm super nervous about this. And who's going to be watching? They had a million questions. And some of them called and said, I can't, I can't do this. I cannot, I can't do it. And I'm like, well, let's talk about it. And I bet you can. And, and so I've got some of the most shy human beings in the world to come on and do this. So, it's really fun. It's been really a great time. I'm enjoying it.
You've picked 3 artists for every interview. What made you pick 3 and not just do a solo?
Because first of all, that would be 71 Zoom calls. But then for this particular thing, I just kind of wanted these quick, condensed sort of calls. And really the point was to talk about the work that's specifically in the show, right? And then the calls just kind of, we always talk about the work, but they've gotten a lot deeper than that in a really short amount of time, So they easily could go longer, but I think for the artists too, because really a lot of our artists are super shy. And so when I told them it's only going to be an hour, you're only going to be talking for probably 15 minutes at the most. then they're like, okay, I think I can do it, and so I don't know. It was just so new. I mean, we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall at this point. So I don't, it was just random. I think by chance and by luck. And again, it was one of those things that Krista and I tossed around, and the idea of doing a single Zoom call for every artist, we didn't have the time and the bandwidth to really get it all done.
Sure. No,
unfortunately.
I think that's cool. I love that idea of, because a lot of conversation between the artists is going to drop some stuff that you would have never, went down. So it's always kind of cool to do that. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? In the future, those could turn into an hour-long conversation with an artist, But I actually I almost like the 2 artists on at the same time, or even 3. And I think like what I would like to do is have 2 artists and just have them respond to each other, as we're going through the work, because like I can research the bejeez out of an artist's life. But then another artist will say something and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to know what's the answer to that, So it's just kind of sort of a nice thing. Like you guys do the podcast together and you complement each other in that way. So, to have 2 artists kind of asking each other questions would be really cool as well, I think. So, yeah. Just stumbled into it, Wes.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
We had no idea. I mean, when we first set them up and started sending it out, it was like, is anyone gonna sign up? And then it's been so popular. It's like, oh, because we thought people might be zoomed out. They might be, they don't want to stop at noon on a Tuesday and listen to some artists, but actually they do. So we think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was actually almost a selling feature for me when I was talking to the artists. I'm like, no one's gonna tune in. It's just gonna be.
Well, you just let the cat out of the bag, Rose, because you have like 9 more of these things that you're doing between now and the time it ends. So now they'll be like, oh, Rose.
Darn it. Yeah, it was so funny because that one with Kwong and Dan Sprick and Foster Grissom, right? Foster was so nervous that he sent me this email and he had all these things like, I've got to go after Kwong. I'm too nervous, all this kind of stuff. And when I was responding back to him, I almost put in there that and I think this one is sold out, which is, we got close, like sold out in air quotes. We're not charging. They're totally free, but we have this like 100-person limit on our Zoom deal. Right. And so I almost put that in there. And then that's a line I deleted because I thought, oh, he won't even show up if I tell him that.
Only 100 people watching.
Yeah. And their spouses and their friends. And
so if I want to watch Ron Hicks, I better register tonight, huh?
Yeah. I think.
Will it tell me if it's sold out?
Isn't he towards the end of the
very
series?
last one?
He's our last. Yeah, he's our last one.
Him and Douglas Fryer and Howard Post.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
that's going to be a good one.
We love Ron Hicks. We love Ron Hicks.
Right? What's not to love?
I'm telling you, and
such a nice guy.
And if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't listened to Ron Hicks, episode 41. Episode 41. Go check it out. Krista, you got to check it out.
I will. I was going to tell people if you want to register for our last few webinars, you can go to our website. If you scroll down on our homepage, there's a banner that says Inside the Artist Studio. And if you click on that, you can go to the page where it has all the listings and the registration links. And then if you go to hover on the About and go to Catalogs, that's where all the recordings are. So you can watch all of the past ones, and they're going up, 2 or 3 days after we have the calls as we can get them edited. But it's really exciting to have all these recordings now of these talks starting to fill in too.
Yeah, because you're building an archive of these talks, and you know what, that counts for something. That those will be valuable. Someday you'll be able to look back. You should obviously, hopefully these live online as like an ongoing archive for the Coors show, but you'll be able to go back and say, maybe 30 years from now and go like, what was Dan Sprick like,
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you're making history, you're recording history. So it's actually really important work. And, it just so happens we're in this situation where we're learning new technology and adding new tools to the tool chest, right?
Yeah. You know what? That comment just made me really nervous, Todd.
How's that?
You should be nervous.
Nervous. It's history.
The
It's going to
history.
be recorded forever.
I know what Rose was like back in 2020. Let's go listen. Hey, so I gotta ask
look,
this.
She had all her teeth back then.
Oh, I love that. I gotta listen. I gotta ask this. So, who was visited by James Lipton to come up with the title of the show? Because the ghost of James Lipton, came and whispered in somebody's ear. Who was it?
Inside the artist studio.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Heather Miller, our advisory committee members.
Okay.
Oh no, Krista. No.
Was it Krista?
So Krista said it, and I know it's inside the actor's studio.
Right.
And I thought two things. One, no one's going to listen to this, so they won't find it, so we can't get sued. And two, that's inside the actor's studio.
Yep.
And three, James Lipton died. So.
That's right. I love that show, by the way. That was one of my favorite shows. I used to watch it all the time. What a great interviewer. Todd is kind of like that. He's got this big stack of blue cards that Todd's reading off of too, just like James did. So
you guys
I was
should get Sean Penn. You should get Sean Penn. Did you ever watch the Sean Penn one?
I would love to talk to Sean Penn. That would be fun as all get out.
Yeah.
Look up the James Lipton with Sean Penn. Did you see it, Krista?
I did. Yeah, that was also one of my favorite shows as I was a teenager. And I was like, I'm going to watch inside the artist studio.
Yeah, right.
Hey, now, as I was a little kid and Wes was old.
No. I just figured that shows you what a big art
kidding.
geek I am.
It was a great show, and I love James Lipton. God rest his soul. And I know the ghost of James was, and I think he's fine with it. I think he's like, this is cool.
Yeah,
it's an appropriate title for COVID era.
Yeah,
yeah,
heck
yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, that's what happened to us. You know what else has happened? So you guys know me, and you know that I am maybe a bit of a perfectionist. And maybe sometimes it keeps me from just pulling the trigger and going for it, right? Maybe. Wes. And so because of COVID and all of this stuff, it was like, no, we're just going. We're just doing it. We're setting these up. We're going for it. And I don't care. If nobody shows up, I don't, and it's been really, I think it's been good for me to just take some deep breaths and just go have fun. You love talking to artists, go have fun, talk to some artists, and I think the artists have been really relaxed and I think as everybody is like, I don't know, let's punt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's what the old adage, necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Yeah,
we figured it out. And, these artists, and I can attest because I've watched the last two. There's another one tomorrow, right? Tuesday? Tomorrow?
Yeah. Neil Sherman, Diana Woods. Who's the third person?
Sean Michael Chavez.
Yeah. He's brand new to the show. Santa Fe artist. Kind of excited about him.
I'm going to try to tune into that one tomorrow too. If I'm here at
noon
that
to 1.
So, yeah. But it's great that you're recording them. And what makes them great, Rose, and I'm not just blowing smoke, is that you have this relaxed attitude and you have a connection with these artists. If it was me or Wes talking to them, they probably wouldn't be as, they probably wouldn't have let their guard down that much. But, talking to you, they already have a connection with you. So they feel comfortable. And they're not seeing all the other people that are tuned in,
Yeah.
It's like a conversation with just you. And I don't know, do they see the other artists as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and I guess that's right, because there was a little bit of a banter going on in one of those ones that I tuned into. Yeah. But they're fun. They're great. And what's nice is I was just working away on the computer And I was actually listening, and then somebody would start talking about a piece, and I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. So I click off my window real quick, and I'd stay there and watch it for a few minutes, see what piece they were talking about. The other day, we almost all cried on your artist and
George Buman.
Yeah, guys talking about.
Did you see that, Krista? Oh yeah, it's you're gonna need a tissue or two. He had me crying.
I thought he was going to make Don Cohen.
It doesn't,
cry.
Right.
Because he just lost a dog. So this guy, the sculptor, he lives in Yellowstone or right outside Yellowstone, right?
Yeah.
He's talking about his dog that he had sculpted that had passed away, and he's like getting choked up. And then this other gentleman, Don Cohen, who does this incredible, his paintings are amazing. Airbrush.
Yeah.
And I was really excited to see his work because that was some of the pieces that I really gravitated towards last year as well when I saw the show. And he has a special pulley system that I actually got to see. So you had described it to me before or on the tour when I took it. But he has this, I didn't realize you're going to learn something from these is what's going to happen, because not only is it fun and you're going to make a connection, but he's talking about airbrushing. And I didn't realize that, and I didn't think about it, but it makes sense that when you're airbrushing, you have to be like straight on to the surface that you're painting. You can't shoot it below or above, because I assume that the paint's not going to disperse correctly, which makes sense, but I'd never thought of it that way. But he has a studio where he's cut out holes in the floor with a pulley system so that he does these large pieces so that you can raise and lower the piece so it can be right at eye level or hand level to spray it. So that was cool. But yeah, I thought Don was going to break down there for a moment because he's just lost his dog. And then I'm like thinking about my dog. I thought I was going to cry. So it was almost a whole big old cry fest the other day.
Oh no. Yeah, I know. And that's one of those things when you do like dogs and somebody starts that, and it's almost like it just is like, it's contagious and everybody, like I could kind of see myself in the little Zoom screen. And I was like, don't you cry. Don't you dare cry. Because then I started thinking about Duke, the greatest dog ever and I'm just like, oh man, we got to wrap this. This is going to get ugly. It's going to be an ugly cry session here soon. But no, it's like cool stuff like that. It happens, right? And that's the stuff that you don't get to hear on a normal Coors show unless you come on one of those tours around the gallery. And if I happen to talk to the artist about that sculpture and why he happened to do that, and so it just kind of comes up in the talks when they get rolling on it. I think it even surprised him that he kind of got really
emotional,
overcome. Yeah.
No, it was
just going to remember.
Yeah, that's the difference between doing this and being able to, we have all but I think 3 of our artists in these Zoom calls versus a tour where you cannot stop by all 70 some artists and talk about their work and tell these personal stories. When you're on a tour, people wouldn't last, right?
Oh yeah.
So, but here, that's what's, one of the gifts that we've gotten from this year and trying to figure it out is that you're getting these personal stories from all of the artists. They're all there in your living room talking about their art and with their hearts totally open. I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, I think it feels like it's a safe place for them to open up and talk about the work, and which I really like. I'm glad. And the people who are tuning in are asking really great questions, and they're making these wonderful comments and so supportive. And then some of them are emailing, Krista, or they email or text me afterwards. And it's like after that call, with George and Don and Dan Chen, a friend of mine texted me and he was like, who knew a bunch of men could be sensitive and open and emotional about something? And, it's just kind of neat to that synergy that just sort of happens. And those artists don't know each other. They've met, but they don't hang out or anything. So, but that just really all flowed. It was really nice.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
This is my prediction for next year. You guys are going to have to up your Zoom subscription because I guarantee, since this has been so successful, and I'm curious to see where your numbers are as you continue to do this. By the time you get down to that last episode with Ron Hicks and Howard Post and Douglas Fryer, I'd be curious to see. I bet you're at capacity for those. So I'm going to guess next year you'll be 250, 500 people. I would not doubt it.
So is there there's a limit depending on what level of what you buy in the Zoom? So is there one that's unlimited, or is there always a cap of?
I'd have to look back at my I'd have to look at my subscription. I think I have the same subscription. I can have up to 100 people. I gotta believe though that you can have more than that. That there's other business subscriptions, because there's people using this thing all over the world with different satellite offices all over the place.
So do you plan on keeping these interviews up indefinitely, or?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Well, I think,
like you said,
I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see your numbers rise because of this. Like, I truly do. I think if people are able to see and have this, even though they're not conversing with them directly, but see these artists online and see their work, they're going to glom onto that. And I think you'll see art sales. I don't know how it'll be this year. I know that we've talked to, I can't tell you how many artists that we've had on this year that we've interviewed since COVID. Now, in the beginning, it seemed a little bit rough. But we've talked to people in the last 2-3 months, right, Wes, where they're saying that that this has been a great year for them, and for some of them, it's been their best year yet ever. So people are partying with their money. They want beautiful things. They're not spending it. They can't go to the bars. They can't go to the restaurants very readily. You're not going to movies, or in my case, I love live music, so I'm not spending my excess money on concert tickets. So they want something beautiful that gives them some kind of happiness. They want something beautiful on their walls. So I think, and I talked to a pretty prominent gallery owner recently, and she said that this has been her strongest, one of her best years ever as far as the gallery is concerned.
Man, knock on wood. Let's hope.
Yeah.
But one of the things that she instituted was, she wasn't doing what you're doing online, but she was still doing it in person. So it was small groups based on the state regulations of how many people you can have in a space. And you would schedule a time, and you go in and you get to actually speak with, or ask the questions directly to the artists, and you get like half an hour with the artists. And I think, and in that particular show where I knew that was going on, that artist had sold every piece in the gallery except for 2 pieces.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think this is a testament to, and we just had a huge Western auction here back in October that broke all kinds of records. That was that.
Wow. I think I saw that.
The
Coeur d'Alene.
It was the Heinemann, Chicago-based
that's the Heinemann
auctions.
Right.
They sold works totaling $1.6 million and broke a bunch of records for Western art.
Yeah.
So there's the market's still there. People are still collecting, and they're still spending the money.
I've heard that, and I think Krista, you've heard that too. That some of our artists have said this has been one of their best years, and I think it is that. Like, I think people are not traveling; they're home, they're looking at their walls, and and they're like, "Let's bring something beautiful in. Let's go ahead and get that piece that we wanted."
Yeah, my framer, I was home looking at my bare walls and took some stuff to the framer. He said he's the busiest he's ever been.
Wow.
That everyone is bringing in art. So
cool.
I'm hoping. I've been thinking about how we are also, I think we have a really supportive base of buyers and patrons that come year after year. And that is something that I think is a benefit to our show this year, is that they know the art, they know the artists, they trust prose and the curatorial style in our show. And I think that will also be a benefit to our sales, is that it's not a surprise on what you're buying. You know that you're getting quality. You know, you've been seeing, these artists in the show year after year, and this is so hopefully that'll show that people will have that same trust that it, they're getting this quality of work.
You know what else we've done? We've really kind of stepped up our game with social media, which Krista and I have been loath to do. Just like who pulled the short straw.
It's too much time.
It's very time consuming.
Oh, you go down the rabbit hole. Yeah, and me, I get on it and I'm like, oh, baby pandas. Just like, and I'm gone,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's like, but that's another thing. Like, I have to say, I think for the most part, our artists and Krista and I feel like we're a team, and I feel like they're, treating this like this is a team effort. And so Krista is creating these posts, and she's getting them out to the artists, and they're putting them on their social media. And the artists who really put it and are diligent and put it on their social media, their calls are filling up. People are coming on, and the people who come on are super active and asking a lot of questions and really excited to, be there and get a shout out to the artists and stuff like that. It's been really fun. And so that's been kind of a thing that neither one of us has wanted to do in the past, but it's you just have to kind of try and get people's attention some way. And so, but if the artists are stepping up and helping out and posting, people around the world are turned on to it, which is something we could not, or we could have, but it wouldn't have been as effective pre-COVID, right? So,
yeah.
Well, and they have such a huge reach. I mean, you're talking, some of these artists probably have, I don't know, I'm just going to make up a number, but, some people have, even if you have 40, 50,000 followers on Instagram, and, tons of people will see that. Maybe they will tune in, maybe they won't. It'd be interesting to see how many people are logging onto your website. I don't know if you get those stats, Krista.
Oh, the Googles. Yeah.
Yeah. And how many people tuned in initially, and then how many hits you get for that particular episode after the fact on the recorded version. It'd be curious to see how many people are responding and logging in after the fact.
Yeah, I wonder that too.
It would be.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way to track that.
Something else for me to learn about.
Right?
Yeah, right. I think we have Google Analytics. I mean,
Sure.
Maybe after all this, we can take a look at it and see.
Well, that's one thing we always, where Todd is really good about reaching out to the artists and saying, share this. And it's amazing how many don't. And then the ones that do, they're just killing it. And then the ones that don't, the listens aren't as, the reach isn't as big. And man, if we could just get them to all share it, it's only benefits them and us, so it's great that you guys are, and I have to, I'll give a shout out to Todd, because he's our social media guy, because Wes has no time for that crap. And I thought I would love to do like social media, but oh my God, it's such a pain. So Todd does a great job and he's on it all the time. So thank you, Todd.
Oh, you're welcome, dude. But
cool. I want to thank my intern, Callan, who's I think she's in North Carolina, and she reached out earlier when we thought we were having a stock show back in March, I think, and she was interested in our internship program. And a couple months ago, I was like, "Are you still interested in being an intern?" And she's like, "Yeah, if I can do it remotely." And I was like, "Perfect." But she's been keeping our Facebook and Instagram the busiest it's ever been, because
what's her name and how do we contact her?
Right?
Her name is Jane Doe, and she lives in Alaska.
I like Alaska.
Callan Chapman, and she's interested in event planning, and
oh my God.
I just am so thankful that I'm like, I think I have the only National Western official intern this year in my department, whereas normally we have 40 or 50 interns that are working on horse shows and livestock and rodeos and everything. But this year I'm lucky.
Okay, give her another shout out.
You are lucky.
What's her name again, Krista?
What?
Yeah, Callan Chapman. Thank you so much. I just really appreciate.
Well, Callan Chapman, if you're looking for another internship, Tenant Podcast has one for you.
That's right. Just contact Wes or Todd, either one of us.
No, that's spectacular, and what a great opportunity, and what a godsend that you have somebody that knows the ins and outs and is willing to do it. Because I tell you what, as you both well know, it's very time consuming, and it takes a lot of motivation to go do it. I'm terrible at it. I'm trying to get better at it. I'm good at certain platforms. And it definitely has helped, but at the same time, there's so much more. There's always more that you could be doing. So yeah, that's cool.
Right. You know what though, too? It's like, it's free. And I was even thinking about this, that in the past, we always took out ads, and we still maintained an ad budget this year. But when I started in the gallery business, like 30 years ago, you relied on those ads, you relied on the art critic to come through, and then you sweated bullets until you read what they actually wrote. And, it was just like, did they publish the right image? Did they do? And now social media, it's free. So I don't know what you're complaining about, Wes, because honestly,
I'm not complaining about nothing. It's free.
I would say not complaining.
I am not complaining. In fact, I'm thanking
I know, Todd. Right? Todd. But you know what? That's kind of like all of this stuff. Like it's all changed, and I'm glad we're responding. I'm really glad, because for sure, Krista and I had to really press to say, we have to do a show. We just have to say, art exhibits, you don't take a year off. You just don't.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea. And then also when we were talking to the folks at the National Western, it's like, it's not just us that we want to do a show for. Those artists rely on it. Some of the artists plan their entire year's budget around the Coors show and how we come out of the gate. So it's gotten to the point where it's a big deal for a lot of people.
You feel responsibility to these artists, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just gotta, as difficult as it is, you have to keep going. You got to figure out a way around it.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I am really liking a lot of things about it. I mean, just giving people accessibility to artist studios with the Inside the Artist Studio talks, and then teaming up 3 different artists together. It's just been really a fun new addition to the show that I think is going to stay. And we would not have done it had this not happened. So,
right.
It's true. Yeah. You got to look at the positives.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What social platforms do you use when you do your social media?
We're on Facebook and Instagram. But our website is capable. If you go to any artwork on our website, you can share it to Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, maybe, or email it to yourself or a friend. So that's sort of cool if you're a Pinterest fan and you want to build your page with our great art, you can do that.
Can you tweet it too?
Oh, maybe there's tweeting too.
There's
tweet it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you're doing with the show this year that we haven't talked about or that you would like to highlight?
Rose mentioned we have some awards that we're doing, which we're excited about this year. It's the inaugural year for our committee award, which is I'm really excited to sort of bring them into picking a piece of art and honoring an artist as a committee as a whole. And I think that's really going to be cool when that's selected.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be really fun. So these each one of the you're honoring these committees, these people on the committee, or they're actually honoring one of these committee members is actually honoring the artist.
The committee as a whole is going to honor an
committee
artist.
As a whole.
Just like our Best in Show award in the past has been a judge. We usually get outside judges that are art professionals in the field, curators, magazine editors, and they select the Best in Show. And I always get asked, or people assume that that's Best in Show is selected by the committee. And so sort of proposed this year, maybe the committee should be picking a piece of art. Wouldn't that be a cool way for them to have some more engagement with the art and the artists and each other? And so what we're hoping is that they'll get together, or we'll figure out some voting mechanism for them all to pick sort of the committee's choice award. And then that's coming with a cool prize. Rose, you want to talk about that?
3 nights at a working ranch. So this year it's, I can't remember their official name, but the Boswells have a ranch, and it's in Kremling on the way to Steamboat. They've got like a chef and guy who's running the ranch. And so it's perfect, so the artists can get out there and photograph or do whatever and hang out at the ranch and have some food cooked up for them. And I kind of want to win it, actually. Ugh, I never win anything. Publishers Clearinghouse.
All right.
Oh.
Hey, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you both for coming on and talking with us this evening.
Thanks for having us.
And talking about what the show looks like this year and how you've been able to pivot and still have this online art show. Our listeners, please check out the Coors Western Art website. It's CoorsWesternArt.com. Krista, remind us about the Young Guns.
The Young Guns show. So if you go to our website, go to the Young Guns tab, and there's all the information you need on there and the link to Handbid to get that special art that's just created by our Coors and club artists. And they have a bunch of auction items this year too, like a glamping trip and stuff. So they actually did bring in some auction items this year.
And for our listeners, this is coming out Thursday, the 10th. So it's today. You got to go to the website today. Do not waste any time. Go now. Krista, it's been phenomenal to see you again. It's just a joy to spend some more time with you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. This was great. We really appreciate this opportunity to talk about all the hard work we've been doing. It's nice to actually tell people what we've been doing, because it feels like it's in this like void.
Really, when you think back to March and to where we are today, it's pretty phenomenal to convert a whole show online. And I remember thinking back in March that, okay, so we'll have to tweak a few things. It's like, oh my God, it's you're tweaking the whole exhibit. So, and there's just so many things to think about and deal with, but yeah, we're off and running. And so this is great. I really appreciate you guys having us on and giving us
Well, I really appreciate you coming on too, Rose, because we've just grown since January. I think the relationship that you and I and Todd have developed has just been a lot of fun, and I've never laughed so hard in my life. Some of those evenings that we were getting together. So
we didn't even talk about Stephen King tonight, which is a little weird.
We're going to sign off right now.
Todd's going to pull the plug.
That's awesome. So
Krista,
thank you so much for meeting with us.
Oh God, of course. And this is great.
And the auction for the Coors show runs from the 18th. Is that correct? Of December through the
December 18th through January 5th. And same thing, go to our website, CoorsWesternArt.com. There, if you go to the red carpet reception tab, because we're also going to put information, our whole website's set up for typical years, but go to that tab and there's all the Handbid information there. And so you can log in start browsing the art. I should have all of the 350 some images up within the next couple days. Right now I'm like 75% with the images. It's a lot of work to resize it specifically for their requirements, but it's getting there.
You just have to, like, people ask this, you have to go on and at the site, our site will direct you to Handbid. You have to register, and then you can like stuff. And then once you bid on it, then if somebody outbids you, then I think you get a ping, and it's really cool. Like it's a great software. And, I think it's having to do everything different and not being present for our really fun opening event. I think this is going to be smooth and easy for people to do, but you do have to go on and register, and then you're set. Then you can access everything and go in there and bid and have fun.
Yeah, and it's just like eBay. You can put in your max amount, and it'll bid for you. If you download the app onto your phone, it will send you notifications when you've been outbid. It'll send you reminders about closing times and everything. So it's like any other bidding software.
So this is the ideal situation. If you have a gambling habit and you haven't been able to get to the casinos, you could be buying art and actually have something to show for it at the end of the day. So everybody get on, register at Handbid, and bid on some art for the Coors Western Art exhibit and sale. It's help support a good cause.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Wes. Thanks, Krista.
Thank you.
I just call Krista sometimes and say thanks and then hang up.
That's probably a good thing.
I don't, but I should.
Oh.
She says, thanks, and can you do this?
Hey, by the way, that's what, when it all starts out like that. By the way, then Krista,
you just need to be quick on the thumb. So when she says thanks, you can just hang up. Got it.
Done.
Got it. Whew. That was a fast call. Nope. She's a sucker for the by the way. She can't wait.
Yeah.
It's always something.
Always fall for it. I have that perfectionism issue too.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, I'm not doing something I should be doing. Wait, give me more.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
For the Tenant Podcast, I'm Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
And I'm Rose Fredrick.
And I'm Krista Hanley.
Have a great week.
Look, you did fun new things with us.